Next, we have Michelle from the Utah Historical Society. I'm going to probably pronounce her name wrong, so forgive me, Michelle. It looks like Michelle Gollehon. Her topic is using AI, tips, techniques, and pitfalls. Michelle is the digital asset specialist at the Utah Historical Society. She's in charge of on-site digitization for the Utah Historical Society collections, as well as management of vendor-related digitization. Currently, Michelle is working with the Utah Historical Society to shape the Museum of Utah to house the state's history collection. With this new endeavor, she is creating a state-of-the-art digitization lab to aid in the function of the museum and to help bring physical objects beyond the footprint of the museum. Michelle and the UHS are new to the digital transitions family, having purchased a Versa system this past July. Michelle holds a master's in museum studies from Syracuse University and eagerly awaits the opening of the Museum of Utah. Well, Michelle, welcome to the family, and let's give her a big warm welcome. Michelle, the stage is yours.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. Thank you to Digital Transitions for inviting me to speak today. We're going to explore one project that we've been just recently started, and it's going to be using AI, some tips and techniques and pitfalls that I've learned over the project. So as the introduction said, my name is Michelle Gollehon. I'm digital asset specialist at the Utah Historical Society. I've been in my position for just over 4 years. Prior to being at UHS, I worked in academic libraries. I have a small team. I'm the only full-time staff. I have 2 great part-time employees, one dedicated to metadata and the other one a scanning technician who's working on this project with me, but she also did metadata for a born digital collection we just accessioned. Here's my information if you need it. In today's rapid evolving digital landscape, integration of artificial intelligence in digitization and metadata creation has emerged as a transformative force, revolutionizing how we preserve and access information. This isn't just a niche application. AI is woven into the fabric of countless industries, from personalization recommendations to advanced analytics. While some of these benefits of AI might be familiar, it's an application that's meticulous world of historical preservation and data management offers fresh perspectives and unprecedented efficiencies. By leveraging AI, the organization like us here at the Utah Historical Society are converting vast collections of physical material into searchable, structured digital assets, bridging the physical-digital divide and making history more accessible than ever. This innovative approach streamlines workflows, enhances discoverability, and ultimately enriches our shared future by unlocking the hidden potential within our historical records. Oops. To give you some context for our work, Utah Historical Society is dedicated to honoring our legacy and building our future. We were created in 1897, just 1 year after statehood, and have been a state agency since 1957. Our mission is to foster curiosity about the past, inform the present, and strengthen our shared future. We do this by making history accessible through resources like our Utah Historical Quarterly Journal and our engagement room. We are all very excited for the upcoming Museum of Utah. Prior to our current location, we are located at a historic Rio Grande Railroad, pictured here. We've had an exciting past couple of years. Like most of us, we experienced a global pandemic, but also we experienced a 5.7 earthquake in March 2020, weeks after everything shut down for the pandemic. Due to structural damage in our historic building, forcing us to relocate, right now we are housed in 5 different locations with the anticipation of moving to the purpose-designed location of the Museum of Utah next year. You can say we're in a major period of transition. First, we are upgrading to a brand new state-of-the-art Museum of Utah with purpose design collection storage. At this time, we're also downsizing our engagement room, which is our research access points for our collection. The new location has windows, leaving less room for physical reference collections. We're also going to be sharing this new location with several other state agencies. As state employees and tenants of the new North Capitol building, we were closely involved in the design process for the new Museum of Utah, which will house both the museum and the collection. To the right, you'll see a few photos of ongoing constructions. The first two show groups posing in front of the building under construction. The October features the new engagement room, which, as you can see, is still a work in progress, but already showcasing the large, bright windows. This leads directly to our project and our goal, to convert thousands of scanned historical index cards to searchable structured collection. This project is directly influenced by the move to the new museum. As I mentioned earlier, our engagement room is a lot smaller, and our current the new engagement room is a lot smaller than our current and previous locations. In order to provide the best research service possible, we need to still have access to this card catalog to answer research questions about our collection. We've decided to digitize the cards and create a searchable collection, then permanently store the physical cards in our compact shelving. The museum upcoming relocation directly impacts this project. So for the tools for this digitization project, we're using the digital transition Versa for capturing high resolution scans, and Google Gemini for the AI-powered transcription and data parsing. Our initial challenge was figuring out how to efficiently move from just raw text to structured searchable metadata. As mentioned, we are new to the DT family, and we are jumping right into this project. As a side note, the state of Utah's chats aren't used to improve our models, so we aren't worried about privacy concerns or anything like that with the larger moral. To illustrate the physical digital divide, consider an example of this bibliographical card. We possess countless of these physical cards filled with valuable information, yet remain entirely inaccessible unless one physically present in the room. Our objective is to bridge that divide. So this is our workflow that we developed after a few trial and errors attempts. First, we digitized the cards with our Versa. Then we combined those high resolution images into OCR PDF. This was a necessary step because the AI platform we have access to is Gemini, and it has a limit with how many images it can do at once, but not a limit of how many pages it can do in a document. We use Gemini to transcribe the PDF and then structure the raw text to a table format. And after that, we refined the outputs and did corrected errors. And then we uploaded it into a DAM where it became a discoverable search collection. So now that we set the stage with a look at who and what our project is, I'll dive into the practical lessons learned, the tips, techniques, and pitfalls. So for now, our first and most important tip is a clear, detailed prompt. Your initial prompt is absolutely crucial for the AI's output. You can't just ask to transcribe the document. You must be explicit in the final format. This recommendation is not novel, as you probably know if you've worked with AI before. So here's an example of my prompt in gray for the metadata transcription. I started asking it by questioning for columns, a markdown table with pretty much name, citation note, transcription note, and page number. You have to clearly define the output format and explain why the content goes into each column. Sorry, I found very helpful that for repetitive projects like this, I maintain a cheat sheet of frequently used prompts and have tailored my prompts to specific media types. For instance, I would use a different prompt for a photo metadata versus an oral history transcript. I use the computer sticky notes feature to store my different prompts. Makes it pretty easy access. The next tip is to provide the AI with a glossary of terms. AI is a generalist tool, so giving it domain-specific knowledge helps makes better decisions. And this stops AI from guessing what the abbreviations means. For example, in this slide, we have a couple examples of abbreviations. One of them is UHQ, which is abbreviated for our Utah Historical Quarterly. Gen History HIST is General History, and SLC is also Salt Lake City. So giving those terms and the larger term is great to getting a better export of data. The next tip is to start small. As you can see, we had thousands upon thousands of cards. So my first pilot project was only using a couple test drawers from each of the different 3 kinds of cards. We have bibliographic cards, we have subject citations, and then a building permits cards. So they each have different context. So I had to use the AI had to parse the data differently on each of the different cards. This is a very familiar tip for us in this community. It's garbage in equals garbage out, or quality matters. The quality of your initial scan directly determines the quality of the AI's transcriptions. A clean scan minimizes OCR errors. We see this problem a lot in digital newspaper collections, where the source was microfilm. The microfilm was meant for long-term storage, not for high-quality digitization, which leads to poor searchability. So here I kind of replicated that different type of outputs with the quality in mind. I took a basic card and captured it in our normal color 300 DPI, and then converted it to grayscale and black and white without decreasing the DPI. And it's obvious the quality of the type lessens with each mode. Here's another example of garbage in, garbage out. And it's the content in the card themselves becomes an issue in this one. The quality of the scan is crucial, but perfect scan won't fix an original typo. For this example of the apartment buildings card, you can see the original typos of condominiums, and I'm not even going to, the 2 condominiums are spelled incorrectly in the original. So that leads the data to be corrupted as well. So we have learned to have the AI flag for things like this. So we have a whole different column saying flag for human review, and it's called transcription notes. So here in this example, you can see there's 4 different entries, and the ink is faded in 2 of them. And the transcription notes fields obviously flag this for review. And you can see that the top entry was completely missed by the AI because of the fading text. So the last tip I have is to use the iterative process to refine your data. Don't expect it to be perfect on the first try. The first step is initial transcription, just getting all the raw text into the basic table. The second step is to propose a schema. I actually asked the AI to suggest more specific metadata fields based on the content, like author or publication titles. And then the next step is to refine and reformat. Give new specific instructions, like formatting under author's names, last name, first name, or separate call numbers. So this example is me specifically asking for the AI to suggest fields for it to parse out of my cards. The first technique kind of goes along with the prior card, is to adapt your metadata schema to the content. A one-size-fits-all approach just doesn't work. Before transcribing a new batch, I sometimes ask it to analyze the document type and propose a custom metadata scheme, like you saw in the prior example. In this example, it looked like at the names PDF and recommended a 5-column structure as opposed to the 4-column structure that I had been using before. I didn't end up using this output because it wasn't well suited for my end goal purpose, but that leads me to the next technique. And it's prepare your data for your end system. Think about your final destination. Ours is a DAM eventually. So I asked the AI to format it as a final output as a CSV file, because that's what I can use to upload into my DAM. And I make sure that include key fields in our DAM, like image file and other metadata fields that are used. I also even asked AI to come up or help me with controlled vocabularies, like Library of Congress subject terms for oral history interviews. Not relevant for this project, but I've used it a lot for oral histories. Play to the strengths of your AI. If you don't know what they are, simply ask what it can do and what it can't provide, which leads me to the next technique, which is choosing the right tool for the task. Not all platforms are the same. Some are strict about copyright and won't let you modify logos, while others won't deal with images of people at all. Like the 2 screenshots indicate, also run into practical limitations. An AI not being able to access a whole folder at once, or files being too large. This is why we eventually turned the output into PDFs. AI's power lies in the middle, automating high volume repetitive tasks like transcribing text or assigning subject headings. For this presentation, I only utilized Google Gemini. It's the only platform we are allowed to use at the state of Utah, but we do have the full version of it, so we don't have any limitations of how many questions we can ask. And it's not behind a paywall or anything like that. So therefore, I'm not able to offer a comparative analysis, but I know there are a lot of other platforms out there specifically for metadata that can be used. So that leads me to my first pitfall. we're all aware of this, but AI can create creative typos or transcription errors. It's not perfect. It can misinterpret faded text, unusual fonts, or in this case, symbols. This baseball card, you can see in the transcription, the AI didn't understand the pound symbol for number. Instead, it transcribed it as the percentage symbol. So we get some nonsensical text in the output, which our solution is to, once again, use that flagging review column. I let AI police itself, and I've had great success with this solution, having only to go back to the flagged images to make sure the metadata is complete. The next pitfall is kind of related. It is hallucinations and formatting artifacts. This is a much more dangerous pitfall. This is when AI hallucinates or adds extra information that isn't on the original card. It might invent data to fill a blank field, which is extremely dangerous. As you can see in this Atlanta temple card, it clearly is all about Atlanta, but the AI transcription invented a line groundbroken for the first temple in Australia. Obviously wrong. Once again, this was caught by the flag for review column, which, as you can see, kind of calls itself out and makes us aware of the original transcription error. Next pitfall is inconsistent data parsing. This is when the AI doesn't follow your format rules across a large data set, or you neglect to include them in your prompt altogether. You'll get different data formats, or it might fail to pull the author's name out or of the main citation. Here is 2 examples in these screenshots. One data set is an example of an escape sequence inserted within the text field after every citation, which then, when you copy and paste it into the DAM, creates a nightmare for ingestion. Secondly, the data set on the bottom has each citation in a new column, creating another problem when trying to input metadata into your system. The solution for this one is to just have the output redone with specific instructions. For example, all transcription in one field, and do not add breaks between citations. The next pitfall is probably the most important pitfall. It's the last 10% is the hardest. The perception is that AI can do 100% of the work. The reality is AI can do 90% of the work in 10% of the time. That remaining 10% is quality control. It's correcting the tricky handwriting, the handling content that runs off the edge, and it's all manual. This is an example of the original transcription being misread by the AI. The owner is transcribed as, the original text says that it is misread, but it also kind of muddled the transcription, and it must misread and mislead instead of reading that loopy handwriting correctly. Once again, the solution for this is that you have a transcription note field to flag it, and because it had 2 different outputs, it flagged it, and it was easy to identify the content when it was in the transcription notes. My last recommendation is to document everything. That's pretty much pretty common in our field, but keep detailed records of the AI models you use, your training data, and your decision-making process. This is absolutely essential for reproducibility, for auditing your work, and for future improvements. So once again, here are some key takeaways. So you summarize what, so first is the most obvious is start with a detailed prompt, but iterate to refine it, plan for your end system. Remember that AI is an assistant, not an expert, and always budget for human review. Watch out for transcription errors, AI hallucinations, and inconsistent parsing. Your training data, in our case, our source material is everything. And be nimble and start small. And of course, document everything. So this is one example of the drawers that we digitized with the Versa. We're averaging about 1,500 to 2,000 cards scanned in a day, which is an equivalent to a drawer a day. Of course, the metadata is not as easily created, but if infinitely faster with AI than doing it by hand. So that's all I have for you guys. Yeah.
That was great. Thank you so much for sharing your experience using our equipment and AI to catalog such a huge amount of material. And I'm sure you're looking forward to moving into your new space as well. So let me jump to some questions. Let's see here. First, we have, was there any discussion about the ethical implications of using AI?
So like I mentioned before, our contact, our chats are not used in any of developing the large language model. So there really wasn't any ethical concerns there. So no, there wasn't.
Okay. So in other words, you kept it more internal to your own ecosystem.
Yeah, like I said, it's an internal system that our Gemini uses, so it doesn't get used. So I don't think it can be compromised in any way. That's my understanding, and I'm just sticking to that.
Yep, sounds good. Our next question comes from AJ Creek. How flexible is the AI pipeline? Is it only possible through Google Gemini, or would you be able to use other AI platforms like scanwriter.ai to fill in the pipeline section, or maybe de-risk or future-proof the project by not relying exclusively on a single AI software?
Yes, I'm sure it's really adaptable. So the main factor is your prompt, which you could probably use for different AI models, and then just uploading or giving it access to the scanned material. Like I said, I only have access to Gemini, and everything else is usually behind a paywall for doing any bunch of repetitive actions. So I'm sure it is. Whatever you're using, you can probably replicate with the same method. So,
thank you. Our next question comes from Tony Cracchiola from the Getty. Why do you ask questions to AI instead of giving it a directive? For example, include all content on the card in the corresponding citation/notes column. In contrast, can you? Do you test practice this? I'm sorry, there's just a touch more to it. Do you test practice this, or did you experience better responses when asking a question? Hold on a second. It can be tricky depending on the AI engine used.
Yeah, I kind of treat AI Gemini as an assistant. So I guess I ask it a question because it just sounds better than do this and do that. I really haven't experienced a different result. I realized when I was doing some screenshots that you would see how I talk to it. And I am probably more polite and kind of more of a conversation than most people will use with their AI. But that's just personal taste, I think.
It's a very interesting question, though, I have to say. If you get better results by asking it than telling it, we need to do a little study on that one. The next question comes in from Princeton's Jeff Evans. What AI engine brand are you mostly using, and are you using the most advanced version of it? Secondly, do you need to defend your AI choices at times? So it's a two-part question.
So yes, I believe we have access to Gemini 2.5 Pro. So I think that is the most current available. We are under a institution or a contract, so I don't know if they limit it just because we are such a statewide agency or not. So I can't really tell you on that. But what was the second part? Sorry.
Do you need to defend your choices, your AI choices at times? I'm not sure if it's about the selection of the engine or the resulting data that comes out of it, or maybe both.
I don't think so, because this is helping me do something a lot faster than it would be the old-fashioned way. So I'm getting results faster. I have about 1,800 cards already in our DAM, so it's getting things done and loaded faster than it would have been the traditional method of having human transcription. And I think everybody's kind of on this AI bandwagon where we want to see what it can do for us and how it can help us in our workflows. I was part of the, when AI was just becoming available, they did a test group within the state agencies, having them test out workflows and how we can use it for our advantage. And metadata, obviously, creation was one of the things that was most obvious for us. We've used it in a lot of different other ways as well, but I really haven't had to justify using AI for this project.
I was more like, why haven't you done this sooner?
Yeah.
Our next question comes in from Sammy Wright O'Connell at Boston University. What do your quality control workflows look like to catch hallucinations or transcription errors? Does that add a significant amount of time to the overall project?
So no, it doesn't really add that much more. So when I'm entering the metadata into the DAM, I solely look at the ones that it's flagged. So it usually flags probably one, let's go 2 in 10, maybe 3 in 10, sometimes on the handwritten content. So I'm just looking at that flag column. Usually it's something really simple, like this is a repetitive, a repeat of the content before, or a misspelling, and then it's just calling typos out. So it's really not really that time consuming. It would probably be something that I'd have to do if I had a transcription or a student doing this work. So I would have to check their work as well. So I don't find it I find it time saving.
Yep. Especially because the tools are there to locate what it thinks has a potential error.
Yep.
Thank you. Next question comes from Tabby Garbett. Do you all need any correction to the initial OCR before it's fed to the AI, or is all the correction done in the end?
That's kind of the same, similar to the flagged column. No, usually I notice it when it puts it in the output. Like I had some of the parsing data differently, so I had to have it redo it. So I'm looking for something clean and crisp before I even take it to the DAM. But usually it does it really fast. It redoes it really fast. So, and it usually apologizes for doing it incorrectly. So that's maybe a benefit of asking it to do something instead of telling it.
Yep, speaking politely to it, it comes polite back. I like it. The next question is coming from Matt Karasimi. Let's see. What did the prompt look like to review itself and to add the transcription notes field?
I can't remember what it. There's been so many iterations that I can't remember what I first did it. But I pretty much just said, hey, if you're having any questions about the readability or the content in a on a card, please tell me so, and use this field for that type of note. It was something that I quickly deemed necessary. So, sorry, my puppy is just going berserk right now. That's why my table is getting bumped. It's time for a walk, but yeah, so it happened pretty fast in different iterations, but very useful and very needed.
You know, you have to share your puppy's name now.
Oh, my puppy is 5 months old and she is named Scooby. So
awesome.
Yeah. Yep. She's definitely a handful, but obviously.
Well, hopefully we'll get to see an image of her soon. All right, we have a few more questions, and you will let you take your walk.
Oh, there you go.
We have Robin Witt is asking, what training did you use to learn Gemini for prompts and directives?
Like I said, I was part of that pilot project, so I was just doing a bunch of experimentation. Both me and my part-time employee who had access to the pilot project, so we kind of talked back and forth. She told me what worked for her, I told what worked for me, and we kind of just workshopped it on the fly. So yeah.
That's awesome. So kind of self-taught.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. It's kind of like getting what you need out of Google. You just kind of know after a while how to word things, say things to get what you want, and that's just kind of trial and error.
That's awesome. So people are gonna start coming to you for an instruction manual on Gemini 2.5.
Well, yeah, that's what I thought about providing a handout with these tips on them. So maybe that'll come later.
I think the community would love that.
Yeah.
We have one from Hanu Hakkinen. How many of you have used AI-powered image recognition to enrich metadata? I think he's asking this to everybody on the chat as well as you, Michelle. So how many questions? So let me repeat it. How many of you have used AI-powered image recognition to enrich metadata, automate content description, or support subject tagging, including relevance data? Of course, ethical guidelines for the use of AI are also highly relevant in this context.
So I use it a lot. Obviously, the Versa has it built in for cropping and straightening and stuff like that. So we use it for that kind of feature, and which is obviously something totally different than the Gemini and the metadata feature. I've used it for photographs. I've used it for oral history transcripts. I've used it for these. And I've kind of experimented with this project, whether I needed to have an OCR PDF. I asked Gemini, and it says it doesn't use the OCR built into the PDF. It actually does its own character recognition. So that was kind of interesting. So I don't really even need to OCR my PDFs. I could just upload a PDF. So that's my answer.
Yeah, this might be a great topic to go over during the lunch break as well, because I think a lot of people are probably very interested in using some AI tools to pull out content metadata. Our next question is from Alejandro Mirazalde. Is there a concern that stuff not flagged can contain errors or hallucinations, and then this material is going out to the public?
So actually, I forgot to mention, this is not going to be a public collection. It is only going to be a solely internal use collection. Because like I said, it really kind of helps our research research team help other people answer questions. So it's not going to be public. It's going to only be behind the scenes used by internal.
Mhm.
And I really haven't found any errors that weren't flagged. So I don't know, you know.
Yep.
I'm sure it happens, but I haven't found any yet. So I can't speak to that.
All right, fair. Well, that's it for everyone's questions. I had a question as well, so we've got another minute left here. And my question is kind of a practical question as well. You know, and I know you talked a bit about it, but have you done kind of an analysis of how much staff resource you're saving by using AI to do the work? And you know, it also partially sounds like you're doing kind of like a scan first and really do deep cataloging second, which is not the norm in the heritage space. We've done that with some folks as on our own projects, but I'd like to hear just a touch about that. And if that's the case, was there a lot of resistance to the concept? And once you have the more of the hard numbers, did that change people's minds?
No, I haven't. I think they're just really impressed with the Versa, where we're getting a drawer done a day, so about 2,000 images. So that's what they're really impressed about. They really don't know what I do behind the scenes, or they don't want to know what I do behind the scenes, by the extraction of the transcription metadata. So I haven't had any. Everyone's excited that I'm doing this presentation and, you know, getting it out there that way. Very supportive of that. So, so yeah, I haven't had an issue with it, and I haven't really done the metrics yet, obviously, because I'm kind of like still in the middle of it. So it's hard to gauge. Yeah,
we'd love to hear some of your metrics as the project keeps going. It'd be very interesting to hear about it. Not that we wanted you to force you to look at Scooby or show Scooby, but you know, you did mention your doggy, so we'd love to see a puppy if it's possible.
I don't know where she went. She actually is leaving me alone, so
well, that's fair.
She's not going to make her appearance. So
well, that's too bad for us. Anyway, thank you so much. Let's give Michelle a great hand of applause. Great presentation. We got tons of kudos and compliments in the chats from your presentation. So thank you again for sharing all that great information.